Hello and welcome to another episode of Self-Improvement for Women. I am your host, Hope Long. Today, I have Kitty Kistler with us. Kitty, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so excited today. We're going to talk about some big stuff. Kitty is a life coach for coaches, and what that means is that she is there with you every step of the way, like while you are in your business and you're also trying to juggle, being a mom, being a partner, being a daughter, doing the activities for, your part-time job, like all this other stuff. Like she is the person that will give you that clarity and that confidence that will help you also succeed in your business. Is that right? Is that a fair description?
That is a fair description.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
Amazing. So I'm so glad you're here today. I'm so excited. We had an amazing pre-conversation prior to recording. And really what we're digging into like the meat and potatoes today, because I know there are so many women out there that want to start a business, but they don't really know like what they're good at. They don't know who their business is for, or maybe they are just starting and like they don't have a lot of clarity and a lot of like direction on like where to go. And this is like your area, like all about this. And it's more than just business coaching. It's coaching for that juggling act that we all deal with, right?
Yeah.
So how did you come into this space? Like, how did you become a coach for coaches?
So, I had a point in my life where I had a story like a journey to go on, a story to overcome myself, as I think we all do. And I had been fresh out of corporate. I had done work before that, but I was at home, stay-at-home mom, and just starting to see people really struggle. And I thought, here's my opportunity to do something about this. And so I just took my journey, the things that I was overcoming, the struggles that I was going on. Like I had that gap in between kids. There was an 8-year difference. And so I'm sitting at home with a newborn, one at school, and just I recognized that others were struggling the same, new moms or those who had kids in school. And so it became accessible. And I just started asking others to go on the journey with me. Would you like to go on this? It was kind of like, we're going to clean the house in the next 7 weeks or something. It was just like one thing after another, challenging. How can we bring this together? And then learning that there was more to it. Yeah. And so as I was thinking about going back to school for psychology or something in the mental health field, I came across coaching, and I was like, that's it. It just like sealed the deal. That was the one. Yeah. And so then I just started learning. That's about how I got here specifically. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, I think that a lot of us, particularly as women, like I had said, we are a lot of things in a lot of different areas in our lives. And sometimes it's really overwhelming. Sometimes it feels like we are at like a 4-way stop and we don't know if we're going left, right, straight, need to reverse, and it gets a little bit hectic. We put ourselves on the back burner a lot. Sometimes we put the house cleaning on the back burner. Sometimes we put our husbands or our partners on the back burner. Sometimes our kids get put on the back burner. And while we don't want to do all that, it's impossible to put your focus on all the things all the time, right? So having balance and clarity and knowing what the end goal is and the end result, all of that is key, right? As you're trying to navigate this space.
Yes.
Yeah.
That the vision, I think, is ultimately where you need to be. And so many people are reluctant at this stage. It's almost always my first question is why? It doesn't matter what the thing is you're trying to do, but why are you trying to do it? What does life look like on the other side? And that's hard. Many people cannot even envision it or imagine it, where maybe they start dabbling in it and it feels too big or too, oh, I would never get there, but wouldn't it be nice kind of thing. However, that vision is what carries you through, that vision of what do I really want my life to look like? And when you start working with someone and they start taking the vision from this big, like, I want to travel all the time and have this luxurious life, to I simply just want to feel joy, or I simply just want to feel happy and balanced, and I want to have time with my kids. It takes them from this, what they think the success should be, the vision should be, to what it truly is, what they desire. And then suddenly they can take themselves in those places, because now it's, well, is that going to get me to my vision? No. Is this going to get me there? And you're right, we back burner so much, but it's also because a mom handles all of the things in people. And I mean, I just know from firsthand experience, we have 3 kids, a dog, and a cat. My husband works outside of the house for about 10 hours a day, almost 12 most days. And it's just, that's all me. And so anything that happens in this house during the day outside of my business is still on me. And that's a lot of people, a lot of things. And, you know, I have 3 kids, some people have 5, some people have 8. And so to put that all on one person can be a lot. And so it's hard. We lose ourselves in those moments, or we don't, who teaches us how to juggle 5 other people, you know,
Right.
at one time. So yeah, we put it on the back burner, but I think it's better to look at it as, we just have to look at our priorities day to day, really.
Yes.
What is most important today?
Yeah. And I think, so yeah, speaking to like picking what's most important for the day, as entrepreneurs, every day we want to do something that moves the needle in our business. Be it, you know, promoting our service, or starting a conversation with someone, or something like that. But like you said, with the vision, it's difficult and it's overwhelming to look at the big picture. Like, okay, well, a year from now, yes, you want to make $70,000 a year, right? Let's say that that's the goal. That's a pretty decent goal. It's a big goal. Don't get me wrong, but it's a decent goal. It's realistic, right? That can be done. And like, I think people get really freaked out because in like week 3, week 4, nothing's happening. Like, and you just put in all this work and you start to lose momentum. And you're like, oh God, I'm going to keep going. And it just feels like you're dragging yourself there, you know, by your teeth. But when we talk about goal setting and we talk about this $70,000 vision, what does that look like month to month? Like, how much do you need to make in a month? Well, how many clients is that? Well, how are you going to reach out to those clients? And it breaks down into very small, minute daily tasks. So it's taking something big and bringing it down to like a daily task that will get you there, right?
That's exactly it. Yeah, you have to, that's working from the back. It's working from the end goal backward.
Yes.
And I think that's the only way. So I use a lot of arrows in my, you know, in my ads or my branding, but it's because we have to pull that back to go forward. So we have to really, you have to take this end goal and, like, just like you said, it has to break down by yearly, monthly, down to daily, and sometimes even, you know, how you manage that day. But you can, there's so many different opportunities out there to time manage. It's a really hot topic this year, is time management. There's so many different ways that you can do it, but I think it all starts first with, how do you organize your mind, right? So you have to find that thing that's going to be able to balance all of the pieces, and just to be able to say, okay, I know from, like, I don't start taking calls in the morning until about 10 or 11. And that's because my kids go to school, yes, by 8:30, but then I need like all that time to do the things that need to be done so that I can focus here. And if I don't do that, then everything feels off balance. So it's just really getting into that routine and structure, but also knowing that once you start putting the pieces together, once you start building the puzzle, it takes time for the full picture to happen. So just because we can go from there to here doesn't mean that it's going to be that rapid getting to the end. Yeah. And I think that's the thing, is many people try to push the success, and we're marketed that it will happen quickly, but it really does take years to develop a really healthy influence in your position, the authority, the expertise, all of those things take time. And so, yes, 70,000 is a very reasonable goal if you know that it's going to take a reasonable amount of time and that you have the pieces in place to get to where you're going. We can come out and make 70,000 very easily, but is it going to be sustainable in the end?
Right.
Right.
And let's talk about the pieces,
Mhm.
right? So, I know there's a lot of entrepreneurs in our audience, right? Young, old, whatever, midlife, all of it. Like somebody out there watching right now has a dream and they're like ready to go. Like they're
Yeah.
ready to take action. Okay, that's great. Keep that action momentum, but we need to talk about a couple things first, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of what I see in new entrepreneurs, and I'm guilty of this because when I started, I didn't know a lot of the stuff. You only know what you know, and you don't
Yeah.
know what you don't know. So
Absolutely.
it's always a learning process. Um, and it's always this journey, and you're always going to learn something new every single day. And it's great. It's really cool. But one of the things that you need to learn and develop is, who is your audience? Yeah, you might not even know what your offer is, but do you know who you want to talk to? Like, who do you want to talk to? Because that's going to be a lot of it, who your ideal client is. And I think new coaches, we hear a lot of the word niche and like niching down and like a lot of stuff. And it gets repetitive for us. But what we need is a simple way to figure out who we want to talk to and who we want to work with. Because as an entrepreneur, you get to decide who your clients are.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? It's not the other way around. And you shouldn't, I do want to preface this by saying you shouldn't be just like working with anybody and everybody, right? Because that is not, it's not going to make you happy in the long run. And if you are dreading jumping on a call with somebody or like dreading this strategy session that you scheduled with so and so, you're not doing it right. You should be so excited about all of your clients. You should be so wrapped up and so happy. So we got to make sure that those are the people that ignite your fire, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, how can we really simplify this process of finding our our ideal audience, our ideal clients?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of pressure that comes when we say, niche down or find your ideal client. People panic. And then it's just, I don't know. Because when you come into something like coaching or when you build a business of any kind, probably, you're trying to get that word out. Your thought is, I can be everywhere. I mean, when we see billboards and advertisements, it's Coca-Cola is everywhere. Well, they can serve everyone. They're in every store. They're in every gas station. Like, I can do that too. But they didn't start, on big giant platforms like that. We see gurus in the industry who have all of this amazing content, things that they do, books that they publish, all of the things, but we forget that there was a process to getting there and that they have teams in place, right? So the one thing that I like to remind my clients, so if you're coaching specifically, is really about being a safe harbor for those who are coming toward you. And I started out as a generalist, so it's easier for me to say, look, it's not going to get you very far because it's hard to connect. It's hard to know what to talk about each day. And it's hard to have so many varying people in one group because it doesn't work. It doesn't match up that way. If you have a lot of those who are in your group that are, we'll just use moms, for instance, but those who are all high school moms, they're not relating to a newborn mom at this stage in life. And so when you show up to talk to them, you're not connecting, you're missing half of your audience. Yeah. So I think it's important to know that the client is most likely more important in the very beginning stages. Are you talking to women? Are you talking to women and men? Are you talking to men specifically? Like, are you talking to anyone that's out there that has any kind of what would be considered maybe an exclusion in society, right? So it's my goal to teach my clients to learn that exclusion can be really healthy, because when we exclude someone, we actually include the people who need us the most in that moment. So we're not able to create a safe harbor if we just have a whole bunch of ships bumping into each other, or we have people that don't like each other, right? Or don't get along with each other. That's not going to be a safe space for them. So your job, your goal is to find a commonality, a common, something in common with your clients that says, this is what I'm going to work with. This is the type of person. And then to be okay if that changes.
Mhm.
So some people do think, okay, I've experienced this trauma in my life. I have healed from it. I'm on this journey. I'm going to help those who have gone through it too. It could be something, as simple as divorce, which I know isn't simple, but when we talk trauma, it doesn't always have to be, very physical abuse. But when you're living in that space of who you used to be, sometimes that's not healthy for you. So you might think that you can bring that person along, but you can't live back there anymore.
I can speak to this.
Yeah.
My whole entrepreneurial journey started because I'm a recovering alcoholic. And so I started reaching women mostly through my blog who were interested in recovery, who were struggling themselves and stuff like that. And then when I really decided to jump into the business aspect, while I did enjoy helping those women, I very much realized that I didn't want my future and my business to be surrounded by the person that I used to be, and to like build off of, I didn't want to build on top of trauma and on top of addiction, because what I did is separate from who I am.
Yes.
And while who I am experienced all that, I take it with me still, but I didn't want to build a business around that. Because my business is my legacy, right? And it's something I want to be proud of. I want my child to understand, like, who I was helping and why, and when he gets older. And I didn't want him to look at the business and go, oh, this is all because you were an alcoholic.
Yeah.
No, that's not what it's all about. It's all about just helping people. It didn't have to be just about the booze or just about, those things. And I see this with people. You said physical abuse and trauma like that. I see a lot of women who start businesses or start nonprofit organizations that turn into different businesses because it's all centered around that trauma, like rape or physical abuse, those things. And then they kind of get stuck at a standstill, and it seems like the only thing in their life that they get to talk about is the abuse and the trauma, and they relive it every day.
Yeah.
And while that is part of the healing journey, when you're part of something like that, it's not always the ultimate way to grow, right?
Mhm.
So branching out and experiencing different parts of yourself are very important. And so
Absolutely.
that's why I didn't like tie everything to this alcoholism, this recovery, because I'm branching. Like I'm a tree, man. I got different branches.
Yeah.
I got different things I like to do
And
aside from
seasons.
this one branch, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
So
and
yes.
it is so true. It's hard to stay. It's also, that's part of the thing too, is that you have to know that it's going to continue to grow or shift or whatever it is. But it's, there are people out there who believe that your core values are absolutely to the core, your core values. And I'm for that. That's, and then there are some that are like, yeah, but your core values shift as you grow. And I think actually it's just a reframe on your value. Your value is still always there, right? It's just how you see it. So if your value changes or your mindfulness is expanded, you're able to choose new people to add in. You're able to move in a new direction. You're able to see things at a different level altogether. And it is healthy if you can step away and say, that was who I was, and this is, who I am now, or that was never who I was. It was just, that was just part of the growing process.
Yeah.
But here's who I am, and I want to show up with this. And that's exactly what you've done, which is really important.
Like we talked about how business is a journey and you're always learning something new. What's great about business is I started off as a confidence and visibility coach. Well, then I learned Facebook marketing and like Facebook groups and stuff. Now I'm a lead gen expert. And so all of this knowledge that I've slowly been gaining in this process, I can teach to other people now, right? And so yes, there's those little branches. And if you don't allow yourself to go outside of your story or like your I know it kind of everybody has like their story, right? And like how
Right.
they introduce themselves and things like that. But if you don't allow yourself to tack on stuff to your resume, then you kind of stay stagnant in that aspect. And it's you're doing a disservice to yourself and to your clients to withhold information that you've learned, right?
Right, right.
Everything that you've learned you can teach to somebody else. You know,
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
put in the work to learn it, whether it was experience, whether it was a course, or what, whatever it may be.
Right.
You put it in the work to learn it. It's your duty to go teach it now, right?
Sure. Absolutely.
um
Yeah.
when so I just mentioned like telling our story, and this is something that we were going to talk about,
Mhm.
is fear and telling your story.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to let you kind of, I think almost all the audience probably already knows like all about me and my fears and my story. So I'm
Yeah.
going to let you kind of run with this, and talk a little bit to this subject.
Sure. So there's a one coin with two sides, right? And so everything that you choose either comes out of fear or out of love. And it's kind of the only way that it can go. And so when we look at that coin, we can decide, what brings me joy? What makes me want to get out of bed every morning? And we start to build the pieces of who we are. But then to tell that story to other people can be really hard, because when you're out there and you're public, suddenly you feel like, well, if everybody sees me, then they might not accept me. And so when we come to our own personal acceptance, or we're still working through to get to that full acceptance, it can be hard to share that. And there's also other people in the story, and there's other people who get hurt by us maybe coming out and telling everything that has happened. So I see so many not want to do that. And I think that kind of ties into what we were just talking about, is that you don't have to share it all. You have to share how you've gotten here, what has happened now, what's on the flip side of that coin, right? The fear is on the one side. That's the one that keeps us staying in the same place. But we know to get to the joy level, we have to flip it over. So how did you get there? What does that look like? And we don't really ever have to tell all of our trauma, all of our hurt, all of our pain. We just have to allow people to know that they're accepted, that we understand, and that we can compassionately and empathically connect with them, and I don't know everyone's story. And when they come to me, I don't need to know it. And that's one of the greatest things that when I decided that coaching was for me, is because I didn't have to go backward and see everything. I just needed to know that they were right here. And if I heard and saw and validated someone, they were more willing to take the action to go forward. And so when we go out and we tell our story, it's really about validating someone else and saying, look, we're all different. We're all here with a different purpose. We're all here with a different perspective. And I think this is one thing that gets overlooked wildly is that two people in the same exact instance, in the same exact moment, have two completely separate perceptions of how
Yeah,
that
we
works.
talked about that the
Yeah,
last time we were on, and like, the brain can only take in so much information, like so many bits of information.
yeah,
So what you experienced during this call and what I experienced during this call are totally different, which is really weird, right?
right, right.
But very cool, because it's still a connection.
Absolutely. And then we try to tell everyone that it needs to be the same, right? Like we're so institutionalized by society that we think, okay, well, I think differently, or I didn't see it that way. Or so when we tell our story, once you start to get that awareness in you that you're like, oh, but this might hurt someone else, or this might not be perceived, or this might be rejected. We get too many negative thoughts coming in. So if you just flip the story to how did you get here? I had been through some things. Eventually, pieces will come out that you're comfortable with sharing. But I have a lot of my story that's never come to surface. It was just, what is my audience dealing with that I need to connect to them and say, look, I've been there. I can accept that you are who you are. I can accept that we're all here differently, at different times, different purposes, all of those things. They just want to know that they have been heard. And so me being completely vulnerable isn't necessary for that, and I think we're so afraid of vulnerability, which really truly is, what courage is born out of. But we have the ability to do it in a way that just embraces other people. And that's ultimately what they want. Nobody cares about our story, to be quite honest, right? They care about how your story is going to impact their life. And so if you just make it about them, then your story is powerful in the
That's
end.
what I work with a lot, with my confidence coaching clients, right? because they're afraid to like jump on lives. They're afraid to talk about their business. They're afraid, for all these things. And they have, fear of rejection, fear of lack of acceptance,
Yep.
and those things. But it's so important, like when you show up authentically and as you, your people will resonate with you. Like,
Yeah.
you're not everybody's cup of tea. It's just not going to happen. Like, and it's okay. It's totally fine. They don't need to be in your circle, right? And
Mhm.
that's something I have one particular client that I work with, and I tell her all the time, that's not meant for you. It's not in your path. And that's okay. That person does not belong in your circle. If they did, it would have gone differently, right?
Yes.
And as well as, if they aren't accepting, if they aren't loving, is that what you want? You want people like that in your circle? Like, ask yourself what you want out of, you know, being authentic and being, in this vulnerable in this space. If you want people in your circle that are going to accept you regardless, right?
Absolutely.
And so, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of, the success that I had with my writing and my blog when I was getting sober. I was sharing other women's stories. I wasn't sharing my own as much, but women wanted me to write out their stories and post it on the internet. And I was like, I can do that. Yeah. And I just started doing that. And I got the response of, I feel so heard. I feel so seen. I feel validated that what happened to me happened, but now I feel like I can move forward because it's
Yes.
on paper, it's gone. Like,
Yeah.
it's in the world. Everybody knows it if it's on there, and I don't have to worry about it anymore. It's like a monkey off my back. And I was like, yeah, that's amazing.
Right.
And when you show up authentically and you start getting honest and getting real, little tidbits, like you said, are going to pop up, and you're going to start feeling more comfortable sharing information.
Mhm.
um and that makes other people really comfortable. That makes other people willing to open up and willing to share. And that's when like the magic happens, and those real conversations and that real connection, and progress, right?
Oh, yes.
Growth.
Yeah, and I think it's important too to remember when you're doing that, one of the reasons that self-acceptance or understanding awareness of who you are is really important is because you're going to put yourself out there with people who you need to connect with, because you're assuming risk if you take on people who aren't going to accept that part of you.
Mhm.
So your business assumes risk. One person is all you need to really take down the whole thing, right? But you need to be safe. And so if you're sharing pieces of you, whether it's your full story or it's just your name, you need to be safe out there as well. And if your audience does not feel safe to you, then that's a big problem, because not only will it hurt your reputation or hurt your esteem, right? It's ultimately could can the business. And so that all of that is important when we're picking the people we work with. So even though it can seem exclusive, it can seem like you're cutting people out, it can seem like you're not reaching anyone, or everyone or enough people, you're going to reach more in the end, right? If you have a very specific goal in mind, target in mind, audience in mind from the very beginning. I mean, just from coaching alone, if you're doing private coaching, I cannot take on thousands of people. I cannot take on hundreds of people in a year. I mean, I'm at best 5 clients a month on a one-to-one basis. And that's even, hard. That's a lot of work. And so when you're doing that, you have to look at those things and say, well, I'm going to have to cut somewhere. Because if I take on everyone, it's too much. I'm too exposed. There's risk involved. There's a lot of different reasons for why that would happen. But one of them is that the coach or the business owner should feel equally as safe, just like you said, inside of your audience, as your audience feels safe with you. And that's a two-way street right there.
Yeah. And you
Yeah.
can also think of it as, like a good analogy is like when I first meet people, the first words out of my mouth are not, hey, I've wrecked my car 4 or 5 times and I spent 2 weeks in jail.
Right, right,
Like those
right,
are not the first words out of my mouth.
right.
But that's like, now I can like laugh about it because it's part of my story. But when you first meet somebody, it's and it goes, even if it's a big, like if it's an audience. For me, I work a lot with Facebook groups. the first things out of your mouth on your Facebook group when you're posting in this group are not going to be the most intimate details of your trauma or
Right.
like the things that you've been through. And that's
Right.
fine. Keep it simple, keep it professional. First couple, it's like dating, right? First couple times you guys interact, it's a little bit coy, it's a little bit, a little laugh here and there, it's, whatever, whatever. And then as you're developing this relationship, things get a little deep, and that's okay too. Like, and it's okay to have those intimate Q&As. It's okay to have that intimate one-on-one strategy session where, you get a little bit honest with them, a little bit, but it takes time to do that.
Yeah.
And you've got to give your audience some grace here, because they feel the same way. Like, they don't want to expose themselves to you. So
Absolutely.
it's two-way. And so, you're not alone. If you feel like freaked out about like jumping online in this space and being this, and I talk about Tony Robbins a lot, like being this larger than life Tony Robbins in your face, it doesn't have to be like that. Don't
Right.
freak out. Like, your audience is just as freaked out as you are. So like, go easy on
Right.
them, go easy on
Right.
you, right?
And you get to do it however you want. Like, I love that analogy of how you're just not going to walk up and do that. Because I say all the time, like, you're not going to cook an entire turkey dinner, right? And then just walk up to a random person and be like, hey, you want to come to my house for dinner? They're like, no, no, not at all, actually, and they're never going to want to look at you again because they have no idea who you are, but you're trying to get them to come to your house. But if you make cookies, right? And you have cookies in your bag and you're standing next to someone and you're like, oh, can I offer you a cookie? Right? Like, that's it's just a connection piece. And so your visibility online is sort of the same thing, and I think you deal with Facebook groups, so there's layers. That's why people have groups, is because this is the public stuff. Then we're going to take you just a little bit deeper to the group. Then we take you a little bit deeper into working together, and so it doesn't have to be all public. None of it does. Yeah.
Right. The last thing I really want us to talk about, which I got a big woohoo from you on when we were talking about this, confidence and clarity equals clients and cash.
True.
And I know everybody here, everybody that's watching, everybody ever likes money, right? We all like money. We all want clients so that we can make money. But the confidence and the clarity is sometimes quite a journey. Yeah. And to get to that equal sign, we got to put in some work, right?
Yep.
So let's dive into this, what you've taught me so far on this confidence and clarity equals clients and cash.
Yeah. So if you start from the backwards end of it, it's the cash. That's the ultimate goal, right? If you are in business, you have to have cash or you're not in business. I mean, clients and cash ultimately mean that you are a business owner. Whether it's one and it's only $100, it does not matter. But if you take out the clients and the cash, then you have a hobby. And if you don't even really have a client or even an audience, then you don't even have a hobby. So you're kind of just out there on social media, right? So we want to have a structure in place. And so cash is the ultimate goal, because cash continues to carry your mission or to better your product or to reinvest, to pay for the overhead, whatever it is, cash is necessary. And we put a lot of weight on the cash because we feel like, well, we shouldn't make money if it's a heart-centered business, or I'm charging too much. And we put a lot of emphasis on the pricing, but we have to remember that there's a formula to that too. Mm-hmm. But when you come back just a little bit more, it's who's going to get you the cash is going to be the clients. And we just talked about all the ways that you can actually build clients into your audience and bring people together and share a little bit with them and get them closer to you. And those lead generation tools are what it's all about. And I tell my clients all the time, if you don't have anyone on your calendar, even just a conversation, especially as a coach, then there's no other task that you should be doing. You have to have conversations. You have to start getting people into the audience. You have to start, doing lives or at least building content around it, but you have to start bringing them closer to you. So those are the two most important ways, or the biggest ways that you're going to get the cash. But how you get there is, you're right, confidence and clarity. And the two things that you have to have is is your understanding of what you're even doing, that mission, that overall vision, how you're going to do it, right? And so you have to be really clear, because if your audience isn't clear on what you do, they don't want any parts of it. So, there's a whole bunch of C's that come into it: connection, confidence, obviously, but then you have those conversations that are going to start happening. In that conversation is where your clarity develops. In that conversation is when you start to realize who your client is. In those conversations are who you realize you don't want to work with. Those are all the pieces of the market research that has to happen. And we don't see enough of that trial and error. We assume this is my audience, this is my program, here's how it's going to make money, and then it falls flat and we don't have anything. We see 76% of the coaching industry leaves. Coaches just leave because they feel like they have failed. That's a huge number for us to take a loss. 76% is a big number. So if we look at it differently and we start thinking, okay, instead of focusing on the cash at the end, I'm going to focus on all of the clarity around what my offer is, who I'm serving, and how I'm serving them, then I'm able to get more confident, because I'm going to put the education pieces in to know not only the tools that I need, but how to coach. I'm going to learn how to go through it, through the process of practice, through trial and error, through market research. And the more that you do those things, though, it's back to those baby steps that are going to take time over, it's just going to take time to build up to it. All of those puzzle pieces. Yeah. When you're doing those things, each one of those tells you something. Yes. So nothing is ever a failure. It's all market research, but it all tells you something. So when you start to self-accept, you become more self-aware. When you start to exclude certain people from your audience, when you start to become more exclusive with who you are going to work with, when you do niche down, that's all the clarity that comes up. And the more clarity you have, the easier it is to attract people in. Guess what happens? The confidence rises. Yeah. So those things are going to happen.
And
they all work together.
I can speak to this a little bit. So I started off business, confidence, and visibility. Well, first of all, my audience didn't really know what that was. And they didn't know they needed that. So, but they knew they wanted lead generation. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay. So after 10 or 12 conversations that kind of fell flat, I went back and I reevaluated what we were even talking about. We were talking about lead gen the whole time, talking about showing up in the online space confidently, talking about good copy to be used while you're posting online, talking about who to invite in your circle. So it turned into, instead of giving them, I gave them what they wanted by giving them what they needed.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
And we talked about that as well. So and when you're in, it's okay to pivot, and it may feel like you're changing your whole business, but sometimes it's just a little tweak. Yeah. Right. Because when I opened this idea of, I'm a lead gen expert instead, I was really upset, because I was like, oh, that's not what I wanted to be. That's not the name of what I wanted to be. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking to myself after a while, I'm like, wait a minute, this is perfectly fine. In fact, this opens better doors, more specific doors, yeah, to the people that I actually want to speak with.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't so much a 360 on I'm changing everything. It was just a very specific conversation that I now needed to start having, yes, to gain more clients, right? To really dig deeper. So it's not always, it's not always going from sunshine to the moon, right? It's not right, night and day difference. It's just little tweaks.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, and it is okay to have those, right? And it is okay to gain that clarity. I think the other thing we do is we start out, we try to find this, I'm going to nail my title. I'm going to get the best title, right? And I just had a conversation yesterday where I said, okay, we need to stop trying to be all these different kind of coaches. If you're a life coach, you're a life coach, because your audience isn't searching for a mindset coach. They don't know to search for those things. They know to search for a life coach. The thing they want to get in order is their life. And so if they want to get their life in order, what are they going to search for? They don't know that they need mindset. They don't know that they need a transformation. They just know that they want their life to be better. And so they're going to look for a life coach. All those other things seem a little too
almost too specific.
Yes. And so the goal for you is then to be out there and somebody say, what do you do? I'm a life coach. The next thing they're going to ask is either what that means or who you work with.
Yes.
And then you can tell them. And then that's what continues that ball rolling. And then eventually they are either going to say, well, it sounds like you don't work with me, but I either know someone or good luck to you, right? And that's okay, because you can't take on everybody who is not the type of person that you want. But you're right about, it has to be, you're giving them what they need, and then or what they want, and then you're giving them what they need in the end. And that's the difference in being a good
that's what
coach.
Creates the transformation that they're looking for, right? That change in their life, that change in their lead gen strategy, whatever it may be, right?
And you're the person with the tools that builds the bridge, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I think you're right and I want to talk to this a little bit and maybe just put this out here, but like, so life coach, right? But there's also like relationship life coach and like life coach, mindset life coach, all those things. These people that call themselves relationship life coach or mindset manifestation coach or whatever that is, those people are very specific with their titles. And they have niche down, and that's a good thing, but they're not calling themselves that niche, because what happens is, again, like you said, just to circle back real quick, they don't know that they're looking for a relationship coach, right? They just know it's their life that's screwed up. Well, it's their life that's screwed up, probably because of their relationship, but they don't know that yet. And they won't know that until they talk to you, right? So when everybody says niche down, yes, you're going to get specific, but you don't have to present yourself as this super specific coach, because a lot of people don't know what they need.
Right. Again, we're putting too much pressure on that. We're not doing the right conversation. Because eventually when you become simply, if you are a manifestation coach, then you're only looking for people who have already either considered that or have been in it. And that's, then you've niched out everything else. You don't want to explain anymore. You're just at a point where this is what I do, and you're either in or you're out. You know, like you either want to come on board or you don't. And we're not trying to.
For some people that does work.
Yes.
But if you're new and you're just starting out, maybe it's good practice for you too, as well, to explain what you do to people, right? It's good practice because it's going to give you a better sense. It's also going to give you more confidence.
Yes.
And and so it's this whole big circle. Like,
it's okay to be a little more broad, a little more general, and understanding that your ultimate goal is to pare down versus I have to pare down or I can't talk to anyone. No.
Yes. Yeah.
You're not going to know.
We go down here.
Everything funnels or everything goes back to forward. But so it just changing that thought process of it has to be, because here's another example is a lot of people say, well, I have to get a website up. Your website designer is going to say to you, who do you serve? What do you do? And how do you serve them? And if you can't answer those 3 questions, then you don't know. There's no point in having a website because your audience won't know either. So it's just a matter of figuring out those 3 things. And when you get that, even if you have to get more clear over time, that's where the conversations will start to give you the answers, and it's all going to work together. It's amazing. It's easier than we make it, right?
I love this so much. So you guys, just to recap, confidence and clarity equal clients and cash.
That's it.
Yes. Amazing. Kitty, thank you so much for coming on today. You are fabulous. I love talking to you. I feel like I could talk to you for hours.
Thank you. It was fun.
Yes. And you guys, if you want to connect with Kitty, if you need a life coach, if you want some advice, if you need guidance, all of those things, get with her. All of her links are here at the bottom. And thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you on the next one.
Thank you.